If you're waiting for someone to save you, stop and is coming. But the moment you decide to rise, your entire life begins to shift. I want you to breathe with me for a moment. Not the soft, shallow breath you take when you're pretending to be fine. No, I mean the kind of breath that comes from your gut, the breath that tells the truth. Because today we're not talking about improvement. We're talking about transformation, real, irreversible, undeniable transformation. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Your life won't change because you want it to. It changes because you decide you're done with shrinking, done with apologizing, with surviving on crumbs of your own potential. Transformation is not a lightning bolt. It's a choice, a brave, quiet, deeply personal choice to stop abandoning yourself. There was a moment in my own life where I realized something painful. I wasn't exhausted from life. I was exhausted from pretending I wasn't hurting, pretending I didn't want more, pretending I was satisfied with a life that didn't feel like mine. And the moment I stopped pretending, everything broke open. Listen to this carefully, because this might be the most important sentence you hear today. You cannot become the person you want to be while holding on to the habits of the person you used to be. You want peace, but you cling to chaos. You want growth, but you hold on to people who resent your evolution. You want a new life, but you're still negotiating with your old one. Transformation requires a funeral, a burial, a surrender of who you were. And yes, it hurts. Growth always hurts. But staying small hurts more. Wasting your potential hurts more. Waking up every morning with a life you don't recognize hurts more. So I'm inviting you today not to be fearless, but to be brave. Not to be perfect, but to be honest. Not to be unstoppable, but to be willing, because life will not hand you transformation. You will have to claim it. You will have to earn it. You will have to choose it again and again. This is your wake up call, your moment, your beginning. If you're ready, everything in your life is about to shift. There comes a moment in every person's life where they must look themselves in the mirror and whisper the hardest truth of all. I can't run from my story anymore. Transformation doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with honesty, raw, unfiltered honesty that stings a little when you speak it. Most people don't transform because they avoid the parts of their lives that feel heavy, messy, and inconvenient. They want a new life, but they're terrified of touching the old one. But here's the thing, your story is not your prison. Your silence is. The shame you bury doesn't disappear, it grows roots. It shifts into self-doubt, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and the fear of being truly seen. And you can't heal anything you refuse to face. I've met so many people who believe they're broken simply because they've struggled. No, struggle doesn't mean broken. It means human. It means alive. It means you've dared to feel. Owning your story doesn't mean you love every chapter. It means you stop rejecting the parts that shaped your strength. You stop pretending you're untouched by pain. You stop apologizing for being a work in progress. You want transformation, then stop trying to be the perfect version of yourself. Start trying to be the honest one. Because the moment you tell the truth, your real truth, the world stops holding power over you. Your past stops whispering lies. Your fear stops steering the wheel. And you begin to breathe fully, finally, deeply. Listen to me. You do not rise by hiding. You rise by revealing. There is no freedom in perfection, but there is infinite freedom in being real. So today, I want you to give yourself permission to tell your story without shame, to name your wounds without apology, to say, this happened, and I'm still here. This is where transformation begins, not in pretending to be strong, but in finally admitting where you hurt. Your story isn't your weakness. It's your power source. If you truly want to transform your life, you must learn the hardest, most uncomfortable, most liberating skill of all, letting go. Not the soft, poetic version people post online. I'm talking about the real kind, the kind that makes your chest ache, the kind that leaves your hands shaking, the kind that forces you to choose your future over your familiarity. Here's the truth. No one teaches us growing up. You cannot carry everything and rise at the same time. Some things must fall away. Some people must stay behind. Some habits must die so you can finally live. But letting go feels terrifying because it demands grief, real grief. Grief for the version of you who tolerated too much. Grief for the dreams that expired while you were busy surviving. Grief for the relationships you outgrew long before you had the courage to admit it. Most people hold on, not because it's right, but because it's known. We cling to familiar pain because unfamiliar freedom feels risky. But hear me, clinging is not loyalty. Clinging is fear. The moment you release what's been draining you, your life starts breathing again. Your energy returns, your clarity sharpens. You remember who you were before disappointment numbed you. Letting go is not abandonment, it's alignment. You're not giving up. You're creating space for peace, space for newness, space for the person you're becoming to finally stretch inside you. I want you to remember this line, tattoo it on your heart. If you Mustang, you do not lose when you let go. You lose when you hold on to what's already gone. Stop gripping the past like your survival depends on it. It doesn't. Your growth does. Letting go is an act of love. Love for your future, love for your worth, love for the life you're brave enough to build. And once you release what's breaking you, you'll discover something breathtaking. You were never meant to carry all this weight anyway. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, but it's the core truth behind every life transformation. Your life only grows at the speed of your self-respect, not your confidence, not your talent, not your intentions, your self-respect. Because if you don't believe you deserve better, you will always tolerate less. You will always choose the familiar over the fulfilling. You will stay where you're shrinking, not because you belong there, but because you forgot how powerful you are when you stop abandoning yourself. Self-respect is not loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need permission. It simply says, I decide what is and isn't acceptable in my life. Transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with things that drain your soul, people who take more than they give, habits that punish your growth, patterns that keep repeating because you're afraid to break them. There's a version of you, stronger, bolder, quieter, wiser, that is begging for you to stop tolerating what hurts you, but you can't hear that version until you raise your standards. Self-respect is the boundary line between the life you have and the life you're dreaming of. And here's the part many people don't realize. Every time you say yes to something that disrespects your worth, you're saying no to the life you want. It's not about being tough or cold. It's about protecting your spirit. It's about designing a life where you don't have to betray yourself to belong. I want you to ask yourself a question, one that changed my life the day I finally had the courage to answer it honestly. Where am I shrinking to keep the peace? Because peace built on self-betrayal isn't peace. It's quiet suffering. And you deserve more than that. You deserve a life where your no is firm, where your yes is intentional, where your standards are non-negotiable. Self-respect isn't a destination. It's a daily practice, a daily promise to yourself, I will not abandon me today. When you master that, your entire life begins to rise. Transformation isn't magic. It's not luck. It's not some mystical force that chooses a few special people and ignores the rest. Transformation is discipline, the quiet, unseen, uncelebrated discipline of showing up for yourself every single day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Let me give you a truth that many people choke on. You cannot create a powerful life with weak habits. You can't pray for change and practice consistency only when it's convenient. You can't crave growth and still act like the person you were trying to escape. Every new version of you demands a new level of discipline, not punishment, not pressure. Discipline, the kind of discipline that says, I'm tired, but I'm still committed. I'm scared, but I'm still moving. I don't see the results yet, but I trust the process. Discipline is the bridge between intention and transformation, between dreaming and doing, between who you were and who you're becoming. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack follow through. They give up when it gets uncomfortable. They quit when it gets quiet. They retreat when growth becomes inconvenient. But listen, you cannot build a new life with the habits that built your old one. Transformation requires daily choices that no one sees, choosing healing over distraction, choosing boundaries over people pleasing, choosing rest over burnout, choosing commitment over excuses. The truth, you don't need motivation. Motivation is emotional and temporary. You need discipline because discipline shows up even when motivation is missing. There will be days when you doubt everything, when you question the journey, when you wonder if the discomfort is worth it. And those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that rewrite your identity. Those are the days that separate the person who wants change from the person who will live it. Listen closely, discipline is the ultimate act of self-love. It's you saying, I'm building a life I'm proud of, even when it's hard. And once you master the discipline of becoming, the transformation becomes inevitable. Transformation isn't just about rising, it's about repairing the parts of you that broke on the way here. And let's be honest, there are wounds you've carried for years that you've never given a voice to, not because you're weak, not because you're fragile, but because you learn to survive by staying silent. Let me tell you something with all the tenderness and truth I can offer. What you avoid will never heal. What you refuse to feel will continue to run your life. Some of the most painful wounds are not the loud ones. They're the quiet ones, the memories you don't speak of, the disappointments you swallow, the betrayals you pretend didn't cut as deep as they did. You carry them in your body, in the tension in your shoulders, in the heaviness in your chest, in the way you overthink every step or expect abandonment before you even get close to someone. These wounds shape you until you choose to face them. Healing is not beautiful at first. It's uncomfortable. It's messy. It's confronting the version of yourself who learned to survive instead of live. It's allowing emotions you've shoved into dark corners to finally breathe. But here's the part most people don't realize. Healing is not about fixing yourself. It's about freeing yourself from the shame that isn't yours, from the stories you inherited, not chose, from the identities you adopted just to feel safe. Healing requires three things: truth, compassion, and patience. Truth, because you can't transform a life built on denial. Compassion, because you must learn to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love. And patience, because you cannot rush a heart that is still learning how to trust again. Listen to me carefully. You are not hard to love. You are healing, and that is sacred work. Stop punishing yourself for wounds you didn't choose. Stop expecting yourself to move on like pain can be scheduled. Stop pretending you're fine when your heart is asking for space, softness, and time. Healing doesn't take you backward. It brings you home to yourself. And when you heal, even the world around you begins to shift. One of the most life-changing decisions you will ever make is this: deciding who gets access to you. Your environment is not just a background. It is the architecture of your becoming. And the truth is, you cannot transform your life while surrounding yourself with people who benefit from your stagnation. Let me say that again, because most people hear it. But almost no one lives it. Some people don't fear losing you. They fear losing the version of you that made their life easier. There are people who love the unhealed you that you tolerated, who apologized constantly, who said yes to avoid conflict, who made yourself small to make others comfortable. But the healed, growing, self-respecting you, that version intimidates them. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your growth exposes their lack of it. Transformation demands connection with people who challenge you, celebrate you, stretch you, and hold you to a higher standard, not out of pressure, but out of love. You need people who say, I see your potential. I see your strength. I see you're becoming, and I want to walk with you, not hold you back. You also need to recognize this. It doesn't make you unkind to outgrow someone. It doesn't make you disloyal to protect your peace. It doesn't make you selfish to want relationships that nourish your spirit. It makes you responsible. It makes you awake. It makes you aligned. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep anyone warm. You are not required to remain where you've already outgrown. You are not required to shrink so that someone else can feel bigger. Surround yourself with people who value honesty, not comfort. People who cheer for your boundaries and not guilt trip them. People who don't act threatened when you rise. Because here's the truth: the right people will never be intimidated by your growth. They will be inspired by it. Choose people who choose your evolution. Choose people who see the future you're building and say, yes, go, I'm here. Your life transforms the moment your circle does. Transformation isn't just about what you do. It's about what you say to yourself when no one is listening. Because here's the truth: most people never realize your life rises or collapses at the volume of your inner voice. That quiet whisper inside you, it can either be your greatest saboteur or your most powerful ally. For years, many of us speak to ourselves in ways we would never speak to someone we love. We call ourselves names disguised as jokes. We minimize our progress. We doubt our abilities. We tear ourselves down before the world even gets a chance, and then we wonder why we feel small. Let me say this clearly. You cannot bully yourself into a better life. You can only guide yourself there. The way you speak to yourself shapes your choices, your courage, your boundaries, your ambition, your healing, your capacity to rise. Your inner voice is the narrator of your life story. If that narrator is cruel, ashamed, defeated, or hopeless, your life will reflect that script. But here's the beautiful part: you can rewrite it anytime, at any age, after any mistake, after any heartbreak. You can decide right now that your inner voice will stop being a weapon and start being a home, a place where you are spoken to gently, honestly, firmly, lovingly, a place where your wounds are not mocked, where your dreams are not minimized, where your efforts are recognized, not dismissed. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a child learning something new, with patience, with compassion, with encouragement, with truth. Because the reality is this transformation doesn't begin with a new plan, it begins with a new language. Every time you say, I can't, your mind shuts. Every time you say, I can learn, your mind opens. Every time you say, I always fail, you repeat a painful script. Every time you say, I'm growing, you rewrite your identity. Your inner voice is the soil your future grows in. If the soil is poisoned with shame, doubt, and self-punishment, nothing rooted there will thrive. But when you nurture that soil with truth, compassion, and belief, your entire life begins to bloom in ways you didn't think were possible. Rewrite the narrative, rewrite your voice, rewrite your life. Here's a truth that will sting, but free you at the same time. Dreams without action are just fantasies. Hopes without steps are illusions. We spend so much of our lives planning, thinking, imagining, and waiting for the right moment that we forget something critical. The right moment is made, not found. Transformation doesn't happen while you wait for conditions to be perfect. It happens in the messy, uncomfortable, unpredictable act of showing up. The courage isn't in knowing all the answers. It's in taking the first step anyway. Most people wait because they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of looking foolish, of being judged, of making mistakes. But let me tell you something. Mistakes are not the opposite of transformation. They are the path to it. Every action, no matter how small, signals to your mind, body, and soul that you are committed to becoming. Every step forward, even trembling, creates momentum. Every risk you take, even if it terrifies you, rewires your courage muscle. Action silences fear. Action teaches confidence. Action transforms dreams into reality. If you're waiting for clarity, it will never come. Clarity comes from movement, from testing yourself, from failing, from trying again. So I want you to hear this and feel it deep in your bones. Stop waiting for inspiration to find you. Start creating it through consistent, brave action. Your life will not change while you linger in hesitation. It will change when you act, even when your heart shakes, even when your mind doubts, even when the world feels uncertain. And here's the key. Transformation is a series of courageous, imperfect actions, not a single dramatic moment. It's waking up and choosing to do the thing you know matters. Even when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or unseen, you have everything you need to begin today. You have the power to break cycles, shift your story, and claim a life that feels true. The only thing you need is the courage to move. So move. Start small if you must. But start. The world doesn't wait, and neither should you. Here it is, the truth that will change everything if you let it sink in. The life you've been waiting for isn't coming. It's already here inside you. All the courage, all the clarity, all the strength, all the wisdom you need has been growing quietly inside of you, waiting for the moment you decided to stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop surviving, and start truly living. Transformation isn't a distant dream or a future event. It's a series of choices you make right now in this very moment. It's choosing honesty over denial, choosing self-respect over compromise, choosing action over fear, choosing to heal, to rise, and to grow, even when it's hard. And here's the beauty of it. Every step you take, every boundary you enforce, every risk you dare to take, every truth you speak, every wound you heal, it all compounds, it all builds momentum. It all becomes the foundation of a life you never thought you could have, but always deserved. You are capable of more than you've been told, more than you've allowed yourself to imagine, more than the world expects. So stand tall. Own your story, release what no longer serves you. Nourish yourself with self-respect. Choose discipline, heal your wounds, surround yourself with the right people, rewrite your inner narrative, and take action. Every choice matters, every moment counts, and when you finally embrace the full responsibility and power of your life, you will realize that transformation wasn't something you needed to chase. It was something you were always capable of. Your life doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins now. So take a deep breath, look in the mirror, and say it loud. I am ready. I am enough. I am becoming the life I was meant to live. This is your awakening. This is your transformation, and this is your life finally fully yours.